The massive Zorethian fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system like angry metal mountains breaking through clouds. Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Imperial Fang, watching the tactical display with satisfaction. 3 small ships floated ahead of them, tiny dots against the darkness of space. "Are those their warships?" asked Commander Zixth, his scales shifting to a confused purple color. Admiral Kethvar studied the readings. The human vessels were sleek and smooth, nothing like the brutal angular designs of proper military ships. They looked more like pleasure, craft, or maybe cargo haulers. "They must be scouts. Where are their real defenses?" The communications officer, a young Zorethian named Velra, looked up from her station. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the lead human vessel." "Put it through," Kethvar ordered, straightening his ceremonial armor. He had done this 100 times before. First came the threats, then the surrender, then the conquest. It was always the same. The main screen flickered, and a human face appeared. Admiral Kethvar had studied human anatomy, but seeing one alive was different. The creature had pale skin, short brown hair, and those strange small eyes that humans used for seeing. But what made Kethvar's scales itch was the expression on the human's face. Her lips were curved upward, showing white teeth. Every Zorethian knew that showing teeth meant aggression, a clear threat display, but the human's body language seemed relaxed, almost casual. Her hands were folded calmly in front of her. "Greetings," the human said, her voice calm and steady through the translation system. "I'm Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth ship, Indomitable. We've been expecting you." Kethvar's tail twitched in confusion. Expecting them? How could these primitives have known the Imperial fleet was coming? And why was she still showing her teeth like that? "I am Admiral Kethvar of the 3rd Imperial Fleet," he announced, using his most commanding voice. "You will surrender your vessels immediately and prepare to submit to the authority of the Zorethian Empire." The human's expression didn't change. If anything, her tooth showing became more pronounced. "Well, that's quite an introduction," she said. "We appreciate you stopping by. Could you give us just a few minutes to get ready? My crew is still finishing up some preparations." Commander Zixth leaned over to whisper in Kethvar's ear. "Sir, is she making fun of us?" Kethvar wasn't sure. The human's tone was polite, almost friendly, but that aggressive teeth display continued. Maybe this was how humans showed fear, or perhaps it was some kind of nervous reaction. "Preparations. For what?" Kethvar demanded. "Oh, you know," Captain Chen said with a small shrug. "Getting everything ready. We want to make sure we're properly prepared for this conversation. Would you like some coffee while you wait? We just brewed a fresh pot." The bridge of the Imperial Fang fell silent. In all his years of conquest, Kethvar had never had a species offer him beverages during their surrender. "Coffee?" he repeated. "It's a human drink," Chen explained helpfully. "Quite good. We could send some over if you'd like, to try it." Kethvar looked around his bridge. His officers were staring at the screen with expressions of complete confusion. Velra's scales had turned a bright yellow color that indicated she was trying very hard not to laugh. Even Commander Zixith seemed at a loss for words. "We did not come here for coffee," Kethvar said slowly. "We came to accept your surrender." "Right. Of course," Chen nodded, still showing those teeth. "Just give us a couple more minutes. The crew is almost done with their preparations. Oh, and Admiral, that's a very impressive fleet you have there. Those ships look quite powerful." Kethvar puffed up with pride despite his confusion. "The 3rd Fleet represents the might of the Zorethian Empire. We have conquered 47 star systems with these vessels." 47? "Wow, that's quite a lot," Chen said, sounding genuinely impressed. "You must have some excellent crews. How long have you been exploring this part of the galaxy?" This was not how first contact was supposed to go. The humans should be trembling in fear, not asking about his military campaigns like they were discussing. The weather. And that teeth-showing expression was getting worse. "Tactical!" Kethvar barked, turning away from the screen. "What are our sensors telling us about those ships?" Lieutenant Korval checked his displays. "Sir, I'm getting some unusual readings. The human vessels appear to be... Well, sir, the sensors are having difficulty getting clear information about their capabilities." "What do you mean?" "The energy signatures are unlike anything in our database. Their hull composition seems to be some kind of unknown alloy." "And, sir?" Korval's voice dropped to a whisper. "Their power output readings keep changing. Sometimes it looks like they're barely running life support, and sometimes it looks like they're generating more power than our entire fleet." Kethvar frowned. "Run the scans again. The equipment must be malfunctioning. While his crew worked, Kethvar looked back at the screen. Captain Chen was still waiting patiently, still showing those aggressive teeth. Behind her, he could see other humans moving around what appeared to be a very clean, very advanced bridge. They all had the same strange, tooth-showing expression. "Captain Chen," Kethvar said carefully. Are you not afraid?" Chen tilted her head slightly, as if considering the question. "Afraid? Oh, you mean of your fleet?" "No, not particularly. Should we be?" "We have enough firepower to destroy your entire planet," Kethvar said. Chen nodded thoughtfully. "That does sound like quite a lot of firepower. Tell me, how does your weapon technology work? We're always interested in learning about different approaches to engineering problems." Commander Zixth made a choking sound. "Sir," he whispered, "I think she's studying us." Kethvar was beginning to think the same thing. The human's questions were too calm, too curious. She was acting like a scientist examining an interesting specimen, not a military officer facing overwhelming force. "Sir," Velra called out softly, "I'm picking up some interesting chatter from the human ships." Put it through the speakers. The bridge filled with human voices speaking in their strange musical language. The translation system worked to keep up. 20 credits says they run another sensor sweep. You're on, but I think they'll try 3 more times before they figure it out. Anyone else think their ship designs are kind of cute, like angry triangles? Rodriguez owes me lunch if this takes longer than an hour. Kethvar's blood ran cold. The humans were taking bets. They were treating the arrival of an Imperial fleet like some kind of entertainment. "Captain Chen," he said, his voice carefully controlled. "What exactly are your people preparing for?" The human's tooth-showing expression grew even wider. "Oh, we're just getting ready to have a proper conversation with you, Admiral. We've been looking forward to this for quite some time." "Looking forward to it?" "Well, yes. First contact with a galactic civilization. This is exactly the kind of thing humanity has been hoping would happen. We've been waiting to meet our neighbors." Kethvar stared at the screen. Something was very, very wrong here. But he couldn't figure out what it was. The humans showed no fear, no respect for Imperial power, and they kept making that aggressive teeth display while talking about friendship. And coffee. "How much longer do you need for these preparations?" he asked. "Oh, just another minute or two," Chen said cheerfully. "Thanks for being so patient. You're really quite considerate for a conquering fleet." Kethvar closed the communication channel and turned to his officers. Every single one of them was staring at him with confused expressions. "Sir," Commander Zixth said slowly, "what do we do if they don't surrender?" It was a good question. Kethvar had no idea how to answer it. Admiral Kethvar paced back and forth on his bridge, his claws clicking against the metal floor. 10 minutes had passed since the humans had asked for just a couple more minutes. His patience was wearing thin. "Communications," he barked. "Open. A channel to the human ships." Captain Chen's face appeared on the screen again, still wearing that disturbing, tooth-showing expression. "Hello again, Admiral. Thank you so much for waiting." "Your time is up," Kethvar growled. "I demand your immediate surrender to the Zorethian Empire." "Oh, we're still getting ready," Chen said apologetically. "You know how it is with preparations. There's always one more thing to check, but we should be done very soon." Kethvar's scales turned a deep red color, which in Zorethian culture meant extreme frustration. "What could you possibly be preparing for? You are facing the Third Imperial Fleet. Your only option is surrender." "Well, we want to make sure we're ready for whatever comes next," Chen explained. "It's important to be thorough." "Oh, and Admiral? We were wondering if you might like to try some of our coffee while you wait. We could send a small container over to your ship." "I do not want your coffee," Kethvar roared, causing several of his junior officers to step back in alarm. "I want your surrender!" Chen nodded understandingly. "Of course you do. That makes perfect sense from your perspective, but we're still not quite ready yet. Maybe another few minutes?" Commander Zixth leaned close to Kethvar's ear. "Sir, this is highly unusual. In my experience, primitive species either surrender immediately or attack in desperation. They don't chat." Kethvar agreed. The humans were behaving unlike any species he had ever encountered. They seemed completely unconcerned about the massive fleet pointing weapons at them. It was almost as if they didn't understand the danger they were in. "Captain Chen," Kethvar said, trying a different approach. "Do you understand what will happen if you do not surrender?" "Oh, yes," Chen replied cheerfully. "You'll probably try to destroy us with your weapons. It's really the only logical next step, isn't it?" The casual way she said it made Kethvar's blood freeze. She wasn't afraid of being destroyed. She was discussing it like it was an interesting possibility. "And that doesn't concern you?" he asked. "Well, it would be unfortunate," Chen admitted. We were hoping to have a nice conversation instead, but we understand that different species have different approaches to first contact. Lieutenant Corval looked up from his tactical station. Sir, I've completed another sensor sweep of the human vessels. And? The readings are even stranger than before. Sir, I'm detecting energy patterns that don't match any known technology. Their ships seem to be using some kind of power source that our computers can't identify. Kethvar frowned. What do you mean, can't identify? The energy signatures keep changing, sir. Sometimes it looks like they're running on simple fusion power, and sometimes it looks like they're tapping into quantum zero-point energy. But that's impossible. Zero-point energy manipulation is purely theoretical. Run the scans again, Kethvar ordered, and check the equipment for malfunctions. While his crew worked, Kethvar studied the human ships more carefully. They were beautiful, in a strange way, with smooth curves and elegant lines. They didn't look like warships at all. But if they weren't warships, why weren't the humans afraid? Sir, Velra called out from the communication station. I'm picking up more chatter from the human ships. Let me hear it. The bridge filled, with human voices again, speaking in their relaxed, casual tones. Definitely going to run another scan. Rodriguez called it perfectly. They think they're starting to get frustrated. The big one's scales are turning red. Should we tell them about the coffee? It really is quite good. Nah, let them figure it out themselves. It's more fun this way. Kethvar's tail lashed, back and forth in agitation. The humans were still treating this like entertainment. They were discussing his crew's emotional states like they were watching actors in a play. Communications, he snapped. Open the channel again. Chen's face reappeared, her tooth-showing expression unchanged. Hello, Admiral. How are you doing? How am I doing? Kethvar repeated, his voice rising. I am an admiral of the Imperial Fleet. I do not discuss my emotional state with primitive aliens. Oh, you're not primitive at all, Chen said, sounding genuinely impressed. Your ships are quite sophisticated. We've been studying your approach to hull design, and it's really quite interesting. Very angular. Very aggressive-looking. It must be quite effective for intimidation. It is effective for destroying enemies, Kethvar corrected. I'm sure it is, Chen agreed. Though we were curious about your weapons technology. From what we can observe, you're using plasma-based energy weapons, correct? Kethvar hesitated. Military technology was not something to be discussed with potential enemies, but Chen's tone was so genuinely curious, so scientifically interested, that he found himself wanting to answer. That is classified information, he said finally. Of course it is. Chen nodded. We completely understand. Military secrets and all that. We were just curious from a technical standpoint. We love learning about different approaches to engineering problems. Commander Zixith whispered in Kethvar's ear again. Sir, why does she keep talking about engineering problems? And why is she so interested in our technology? It was a good question. Most species begged for mercy when facing the Imperial fleet. They didn't ask technical questions about weapon design. Captain Chen, Kethvar said slowly, what kind of ships are those? These? Oh, they're just exploration vessels, Chen replied. We use them for surveying new star systems, making contact with other species, that sort of thing. Exploration. Vessels, Kethvar repeated. That's right. We're explorers, Admiral. We go out into the galaxy looking for new worlds, new civilizations. It's what humans do. This was getting more confusing by the minute. If the humans were explorers, not warriors, why weren't they afraid? And why did their exploration ships have such strange energy signatures? Sir, Lieutenant Corval called out urgently. I've run the scans 4 times now. The readings are consistent, but they don't make sense. Explain. The human ships appear to have some kind of adaptive shielding system. But the power requirements for such a system would be enormous. They'd need to generate more energy than a small star. That's impossible, Commander Zixith said. Yes, sir, it should be impossible. But that's what the sensors are showing. Kethvar looked back at the screen, where Captain Chen was waiting patiently, with that same tooth-showing expression. Behind her, he could see other humans moving around their bridge, all of them displaying the same aggressive facial pattern. Captain Chen, he said carefully, are you ready yet? Almost, Chen replied. Just another minute or two. We really appreciate your patience, Admiral. Not everyone would be so considerate during first contact. This is not first contact, Kethvar said firmly. This is conquest. Chen tilted her head slightly. Is it? Because it feels more like a conversation to me. A rather pleasant one, actually. Kethvar stared at her. The human seemed genuinely confused by the concept of conquest, as if it was a foreign idea she had never encountered before. What do you think is happening here? He asked. Well, Chen said thoughtfully. We're meeting each other for the first time. You're showing us your impressive fleet, and we're getting ready to show you what we can do. It's all very exciting, really. Show us what you can do? Kethvar repeated. Chen's tooth-showing expression grew wider. Oh yes, Admiral. We're really looking forward to it. Admiral Kethvar had reached the end of his patience. 20 minutes had passed, and the humans were still getting ready for whatever they thought was going to happen. Their casual attitude and constant tooth-showing had pushed him beyond frustration, into genuine anger. Enough, he declared, his scales now a dark red that indicated barely controlled rage. I will demonstrate the power of the Imperial fleet. Perhaps then you will understand your situation. Captain Chen appeared on the screen once more, her expression unchanged. Oh, are you going to show us your weapons? That sounds interesting. Kethvar stared at her. Even now, facing the threat of destruction, she sounded like a scientist about to observe an experiment. This is your last chance to surrender, human. We're still getting ready, Chen said apologetically. But please, go ahead. With your demonstration. We're always eager to learn about new technology. Weapons control, Kethvar barked, turning away from the screen. Target the lead human vessel. Fire a warning shot. Use the secondary plasma cannon. Lieutenant Mordak at the weapons station hesitated. Sir, a warning shot from the secondary cannon could still destroy a small moon. I'm aware of the weapon's power, Kethvar replied coldly. Fire. The Imperial Fang shuddered slightly as the plasma cannon charged and fired. A beam of superheated energy lanced across space toward the human ship Indomitable. The blast was bright enough to be seen with the naked eye, a brilliant lance of destruction that could vaporize most known materials. The beam struck the human ship's shields, and something impossible happened. Instead of exploding or being destroyed, the Indomitable simply absorbed the energy. The ship's hull began to glow with a soft blue light, as if the plasma blast had been converted into some kind of power source. The bridge of the Imperial Fang fell completely silent. Every Zorethian stared at their displays in shock. The human ship hadn't just survived the blast. It looked healthier than before. What just happened? Commander Zixith whispered. Before anyone could answer, Captain Chen's voice came through the speakers. Oh, thank you, Admiral. That was quite helpful. We were running a bit low on power after our journey. That top-off was just what we needed. Kethvar slowly turned back to the screen. Chen's tooth-showing expression had grown even wider, and she looked genuinely grateful. You used our weapon blast as fuel? He asked, his voice barely above, a whisper. Well, energy is energy, Chen explained matter-of-factly. Your plasma beam was quite efficient, actually. Very clean, very focused. Excellent work. Did you design those weapons yourself? Lieutenant Corval looked up from his tactical station, his scales pale with shock. Sir, the human ship's power output has increased by 30%. They literally absorbed our attack and converted it to usable energy. Kethvar felt a cold fear beginning to creep up his spine. How is that possible? I don't know, sir. Their technology is completely unknown to us. On the screen, Chen was still waiting patiently for an answer to her question about weapon design. She seemed genuinely interested in the engineering behind the plasma cannon that had just failed to damage her ship. Our weapons are Imperial technology, Kethvar said finally, developed over centuries of warfare. Centuries? Wow, that's impressive, Chen said. You must have a really advanced military research program. We'd love to learn more about your approach to energy weapons design. Commander Zixith leaned close to Kethvar. Sir, she's still asking about our technology, even after we just tried to destroy her ship. I noticed, Kethvar replied grimly. He was beginning to suspect that the humans were not what they appeared to be. Admiral, Chen said, her tone becoming slightly more serious, we really do appreciate the demonstration, but we should probably mention something. Our shields are designed to absorb and redirect energy attacks. You might want to consider a different approach if you're planning to continue with the weapons fire. Different approach? Kethvar repeated. Well, energy weapons don't really work on us, Chen explained helpfully. You could try kinetic weapons, I suppose, though those don't tend to be very effective either. Or you could wait a bit longer while we finish our preparations. That might be the better option. Lieutenant Mordak looked up from his weapons station. Sir, should we try the kinetic cannons? Kethvar was tempted, but something in Chen's tone made him hesitate. She had sounded almost amused when she mentioned kinetic weapons, as if she knew something he didn't. Negative, he said. Continue. Monitoring. Wise choice, Chen said, apparently having heard his order. Oh, and Admiral, we're almost ready now. Just another minute or two. The communication channel closed, leaving the bridge of the Imperial Fang in tense silence. Kethvar stared at the tactical display, watching the 3 human ships floating calmly in space. Their shields were no longer glowing, but energy readings showed they were somehow storing the power from his plasma blast. "Sir," Velra called out from communications, "I'm picking up more chatter from the human ships." "Let me hear it." Human voices filled the bridge again, speaking in their casual, relaxed tones. "Did you see the way their weapon just bounced off? Classic. Poor guys probably think they hit us with everything they had. Should we tell them about the kinetic shielding too? Nah, let them figure it out. Besides, Thompson's about to show off the navigation array." Kethvar's blood ran cold. Thompson? Who was Thompson? And what was a navigation array? "Communications," he ordered. "Open the channel." Chen's face appeared again, still showing those teeth. "Hello again, Admiral. How are you feeling about the demonstration so far?" "Who is Thompson?" Kethvar asked bluntly. "Oh, Captain Thompson? He's the commander of the Resilient," Chen replied, indicating one of the other human ships. "He's been looking forward to meeting you. Would you like to speak with him?" Before Kethvar could answer, another human face appeared on a split screen. This one was older, with gray hair and wrinkles around his eyes, but he had the same tooth-showing expression as Chen. "Greetings, Admiral," Thompson said in a friendly voice. "Sarah tells me you've been testing our defenses. Very thorough of you." "Testing your defenses," Kethvar repeated. "The plasma blast," Thompson explained. "It was a good test of our shield systems. Thank you for that. Would you like to see how our systems work?" What?" Thompson's tooth-showing expression grew wider. "Well, turnabout is fair play, isn't it? You showed us your weapons, so we should show you ours. Just seems polite." Kethvar felt his scales beginning to pale. "Your weapons?" "Oh, this isn't really a weapon," Thompson said casually. "It's just our navigation array. We use it to clear debris from our flight path. But I thought you might find it interesting from a technical standpoint." Before Kethvar could respond, Thompson turned away from the screen and spoke to someone off camera. "Chief, could you give our new friends a small demonstration? Just a little pulse. Nothing dramatic." "Wait," Kethvar started to say, but it was too late. A beam of energy lanced out from Thompson's ship toward a large asteroid that was drifting nearby. The asteroid, which was roughly the size of a small city, simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, and the next moment there was nothing but empty space and a few scattered particles. The bridge of the Imperial Fang erupted in shocked exclamations. Lieutenant Corval was frantically checking his sensors, and Commander Zixith was making small, choking sounds. How did you do that?" Kethvar whispered. Thompson looked back at the screen with genuine puzzlement. "Do what?" "Oh, the asteroid? Like I said, it's just our navigation array. We use it to clear flight paths. Nothing fancy." You vaporized it completely." "Well, yes. That's what it's designed to do. Very efficient for debris removal." Thompson paused, studying Kethvar's expression. "You look upset, Admiral. Is everything all right?" The bridge of the Imperial Fang was so quiet that Kethvar could hear his own heartbeat. His entire crew stared at the tactical displays, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. The human ship had casually erased an asteroid from existence, using what they claimed was a navigation tool. "Admiral," Lieutenant Corval said in a shaky voice, "the asteroid is completely gone. No debris, no residual energy signature. It's as if it never existed." Kethvar's scales had turned pale gray, the Zorethian color for fear. How much power would that require? "Sir, to completely disintegrate an asteroid that size, we would need to focus the combined firepower of our entire fleet for several minutes. They did it in less than a second with a single beam." On the screen, Captain Thompson was still smiling, apparently unaware of the terror he had just caused. "Sorry about that, Admiral. I hope the demonstration wasn't too dramatic. We just wanted to show you how our technology works." That was your navigation array?" Kethvar managed to ask. "That's right," Thompson confirmed. "Very handy for clearing flight paths. Much more efficient than flying around obstacles. Would you like to see our communications array? It can do some interesting things too." "No," Kethvar said quickly, perhaps too quickly. "No, that won't be necessary." Captain Chen's face reappeared on the split screen. "Admiral, we think it's time we had an honest conversation. Would you like to know what's really happening here?" Kethvar nodded slowly, not trusting his voice. "We've known about the Zorethian Empire for quite some time," Chen began, her tone becoming more serious but still maintaining that strange tooth-showing expression. "We've been watching your expansion across this part of the galaxy for about 30 years now." "Watching us?" Kethvar whispered. "Oh, yes. We detected your empire when you conquered the Veltar system. That was, what, 28 years ago? We've been keeping an eye on you ever since." Commander Zixith leaned forward. "How could you have been watching us? We had no knowledge of your species." Thompson chuckled. "Well, we're quite good at staying hidden when we want to. Your sensors are impressive, but they're designed to detect technology similar to your own. Our ships use rather different principles." Chen nodded. "We've been waiting for you to reach our solar system. We knew it would happen eventually, given your expansion pattern. We've been looking forward to making formal contact." "Looking forward to it?" Kethvar repeated, his confusion growing. "Of course," Chen said, her tooth-showing expression growing wider. "First contact with a galactic civilization is exactly what humanity has been hoping for. We've been dreaming about meeting other intelligent species for centuries." But you're not afraid," Kethvar said weakly. "Afraid of what?" Thompson asked, genuinely puzzled. "Of conquest? Of destruction? Of the Imperial fleet?" The two humans looked at each other, and then back at Kethvar. Chen's expression became almost sympathetic. "Admiral," she said gently, "these aren't warships." "What?" "These 3 vessels," Chen explained. "They're exploration ships, scientific vessels. We use them to study new star systems and make contact with other species." Thompson nodded. "That's right. Our actual military vessels would have, well, they probably wouldn't have bothered with conversation." Kethvar felt the deck seeming to shift beneath his feet. "These are your exploration ships. Standard scientific vessels," Chen confirmed, "though I should mention that all our ships, military or civilian, have the same basic defensive systems. Can't have our explorers getting hurt, after all." Same defensive systems," Kethvar repeated slowly. "Energy absorption, kinetic redirection, basic shielding," Thompson listed casually. "Standard safety equipment. You can't be too careful when exploring unknown space." Lieutenant Korval spoke up from his station. "Sir, if these are their exploration ships, and they can absorb our weapons fire without effort," he didn't need to finish the sentence. Everyone on the bridge understood the implications. "Admiral," Chen said, her voice becoming even more gentle, "we need to explain something about humans. We're explorers by nature. We don't conquer other species. We prefer to make friends." "Friends," Kethvar whispered. "That's right. We were hoping to establish diplomatic relations with your empire. Cultural exchange, trade agreements, shared scientific research, that sort of thing." Thompson leaned forward. "We have so much we could teach each other. Your approach to faster-than-light travel is fascinating, for instance. Very different from our methods." "Our methods?" Kethvar asked. "Hyperspace tunneling." "Correct?" Chen said. "Quite ingenious. We use a different approach, but we'd love to understand how your system works." Kethvar stared at them. The humans were discussing Imperial technology like it was an interesting academic subject. They showed no fear, no respect for Imperial power, no concern for their own safety. "Why are you smiling?" he asked suddenly. Both humans looked puzzled. "Smiling?" Chen repeated. "The tooth showing, the facial expression. In our culture, showing teeth is a sign of aggression." Understanding dawned on Thompson's face. "Oh, you mean this?" He demonstrated the expression more clearly. "This isn't aggression, Admiral. This is how humans show happiness." "Happiness? We smile when we're pleased about something," Chen explained, "and we're very pleased to meet you. First contact with another intelligent species is something we've been hoping for our entire lives." "You're happy to meet us?" Kethvar asked in disbelief. "Absolutely," Thompson said enthusiastically. "This is the most exciting thing that's happened to humanity in decades. Our diplomats back on Earth are practically vibrating with excitement." Chen nodded. "We've already prepared cultural exchange programs, scientific collaboration projects, and trade negotiations. We're hoping this will be the beginning of a wonderful friendship between our species." Kethvar looked around his bridge. His officers were staring at the screens with expressions of complete bewilderment. In the space of 30 minutes, everything they thought they knew about the galaxy had been turned upside down. "I don't understand," he said finally. "If you have this technology, this power, why didn't you conquer us first?" The humans looked genuinely shocked at the suggestion. "Conquer you," Chen repeated. "Why would we want to do that?" "Because you can," Kethvar said, as if it was obvious. Thompson shook his head sadly. "Admiral, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Humans learned that lesson a long time ago. We're explorers, not conquerors, Chen added. We go out into the galaxy to learn and discover and make friends. Conquest is, well, it's not really our style anymore. Anymore? Commander Zixith asked. We had our warlike period, Thompson admitted, but we grew out of it. There's so much more to discover when you approach other species as potential friends, rather than potential enemies. Kethvar sat down heavily in his command chair. His worldview was crumbling around him. So when you said you've been watching us, we've been hoping you'd eventually want to talk, Chen confirmed. We've been waiting very patiently for you to reach our system so we could introduce ourselves properly. How long would you have waited? Kethvar asked. Thompson shrugged. As long as it took. Humans are very patient when we need to be. The Admiral stared at the two human faces on his screen, both still showing that expression of happiness. They had been waiting 30 years for this conversation. 30 years of watching, an expanding empire waiting for the right moment to say hello. What happens now? He asked quietly. Admiral Kethvar sat in his command chair, staring at the human faces on his screen. The question he had asked hung in the air like a physical weight. What happens now? He wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. Captain Chen's expression had become thoughtful, though she still maintained that strange human smile. Well, that depends on what you'd like to happen, Admiral. We were hoping for a friendly conversation, but we understand if you need time to process all of this. Process? Kethvar repeated weakly. It's a lot to take in, Thompson said understandingly. Finding out that there's been another spacefaring civilization in your neighborhood the whole time, watching and waiting. It must be quite a shock. Commander. Zixith leaned close to Kethvar's ear. Sir, we need to contact Imperial Command. They need to know about this. Kethvar nodded slowly, but didn't take his eyes off the screen. Captain Chen, when you say you've been watching us, how extensively? Oh, quite thoroughly, Chen replied cheerfully. We have monitoring stations throughout your space, small ones mostly, very hard to detect. We've been keeping track of your expansion, your technology development, your cultural evolution. Monitoring stations, Kethvar whispered, in our space. 17 of them, actually, Thompson added helpfully, though I think the one near Veltar Prime needs maintenance. It's been giving us fuzzy readings for the past few months. Lieutenant Corval looked up from his tactical station, his scales now completely white with shock. Sir, if they have monitoring stations in our territory and we've never detected them, then they could have destroyed us at any time, Kethvar finished grimly. Chen looked genuinely upset at the suggestion. Oh no, Admiral. We would never do that. As I mentioned, humans don't really do conquest anymore. We much prefer cooperation. But you could have, Kethvar insisted. Well, yes, technically we could have, Thompson admitted. But why would we want to? Your empire has been doing interesting things. Your art is fascinating, your music is quite beautiful, and your approach to stellar engineering is really quite clever. You've been studying our culture? Commander Zixith asked. Of course, Chen said. How else would we prepare for first contact? We've learned your languages, studied your history, analyzed your social structures. We wanted to be ready for a proper introduction. Kethvar felt a strange sensation as if the universe was spinning around him. You've been preparing to meet us. For decades, Thompson confirmed. Our xenocultural specialists have been working around the clock. We have entire universities dedicated to Zorethian studies now. Universities, Kethvar repeated faintly. Oh, yes. We're particularly interested in your mathematical systems, Chen said enthusiastically. Your base 11 counting system produces some fascinating equations, and your poetry is absolutely beautiful, by the way, very complex meter structure. The bridge of the Imperial Fang was completely silent, except for the soft hum of machinery. Kethvar's crew was staring at the screens as if watching something impossible happen. You've read our poetry? Kethvar asked. Some of it, the classics mostly. We're still working on understanding the more modern forms, Thompson replied. Though I have to say, the work of Xylothara the Contemplative is absolutely brilliant. The way she uses mathematical relationships to create emotional resonance is just stunning. Kethvar blinked slowly. Xylothara the Contemplative was considered one of the greatest poets in Zorethian history. The fact that humans not only knew of her work but appreciated it was somehow more shocking than their advanced technology. Admiral, Chen said gently, we understand this must be overwhelming. Maybe we should start with something simple. Would you like to meet our diplomatic team? Diplomatic team? We have a fully staffed embassy ship about 3 light years away, Thompson explained. They've been waiting for this moment for quite some time. Our ambassador is very excited to meet you formally. You have an embassy ship, Kethvar said slowly. Well, of course. We couldn't have proper diplomatic relations without proper diplomats, Chen said reasonably. Ambassador Martinez has been studying Zorethian culture for 15 years. She's fluent in all 7 of your primary languages. Lieutenant Velra spoke, up from her communication station. Sir, I'm receiving a priority message from Imperial Command. They're asking for a status report. Kethvar looked at the screen, then back at his communications officer. What was he supposed to tell them? That the 3rd Imperial Fleet had encountered 3 human exploration ships, tried to destroy them, failed completely, and then discovered that humanity had been watching the Empire for decades while preparing for friendly diplomatic contact? Tell them. He started, then stopped. Tell them the situation is complicated. Admiral, Chen said, if you need to speak with your superiors, we completely understand. This is a big moment for both our species. Take all the time you need. You're not going anywhere? Kethvar asked. Oh no, we'll wait right here, Thompson assured him. We've been waiting 30 years for this conversation. We're certainly not going to leave now. Kethvar turned to Commander Zixith. I need to speak with Imperial Command privately. Of course, Chen said, apparently having heard him. We'll close the channel and give you some privacy. Just call when you're ready to continue. The screen went dark, leaving the bridge in uncomfortable silence. Kethvar looked around at his crew, all of whom were staring at him with expressions of confusion and fear. Sir, Commander Zixith said quietly, what do we do now? It was a good question. Kethvar had been trained for conquest, not diplomacy. He had been prepared to face enemy fleets, not friendly explorers who wanted to discuss poetry and engineering principles. Communications, he said finally. Open a secure channel to Imperial Command. Priority 1. Within minutes, the stern face of Admiral Morketh, Supreme Commander of the Imperial Fleet, appeared on the screen. Admiral Kethvar, report. Sir, we have encountered the human species at the edge of their star system, and... Kethvar hesitated. How could he explain what had happened? Sir, the situation is... unprecedented. Explain. The humans were expecting us, sir. They've been monitoring our empire for 30 years. They have technology far beyond ours, but they appear to be peaceful. They want to establish diplomatic relations. Admiral Morketh's expression didn't change. Are you telling me that a primitive species has been spying on the Empire without detection? Sir, they're not primitive. Their technology appears to be centuries ahead of ours. They absorbed our weapons fire and converted it to power. They destroyed an asteroid with what they claimed was a navigation tool. The screen was quiet for a long moment. Finally, Morketh spoke. Admiral Kethvar, are you certain these readings are accurate? Yes, sir. I've verified them multiple times. Another long pause. What do they want? Cultural exchange, sir. Scientific. Cooperation. They want to be friends. Friends. Yes, sir. They've prepared embassy ships and diplomatic teams. They've been studying our culture and learning our languages. They appreciate our poetry, sir. Admiral Morketh's expression became even more confused. Our poetry? They mentioned Zilthara the Contemplative specifically, sir. The Supreme Commander was quiet for nearly a full minute. When he finally spoke, his voice was careful and measured. Admiral Kethvar, I want you to continue discussions with these humans. Learn everything you can about their capabilities and intentions. And Admiral? Yes, sir. Do not make them angry. The communication ended, leaving Kethvar alone with his thoughts. Through the view screen, he could see the 3 human ships, waiting, patiently in space, their crews probably still smiling those strange smiles. Communications, he said finally. Reopen the channel to the human ships. Captain Chen's face appeared almost immediately, her expression as friendly as ever. Hello again, Admiral. How did your conversation go? It went... well, Kethvar said carefully. My superiors would like to learn more about your proposal for diplomatic relations. Chen's smile grew even wider. That's wonderful news. We're so excited to begin this new chapter in galactic history. When would you like to meet our embassy team? Kethvar looked around his bridge one more time, at his crew who were still struggling to understand their new reality. The Zorethian Empire, which had considered itself the dominant power in this part of the galaxy, had just discovered they were living in someone else's neighborhood, and somehow the humans were still smiling about it.